7 years passed like a slow river, carrying stones of memory along its patient flow. I woke each morning before the sun, not because I wanted silence, but because silence wanted me. The house held echoes of laughter that used to bounce between walls, now softened by time. I learned how to make breakfast with one hand while tying shoelaces with the other. I learned which nights required stories and which needed quiet sitting together. I learned how love can stretch until it feels thin, yet never break. When she left, there was no storm, no shouting, only a note folded too neatly to be angry. It spoke of needing air, of becoming someone else, of promises that felt like apologies. Our children were small then, eyes wide, hands reaching. I said words that sounded strong, though my voice trembled. I promised I would stay. I promised the world would still make sense. After the door closed, I kept those promises the best I could. The first year was survival. The second year was routine. The third year taught me patience. By the fourth, the children began to remember her in fragments, like pictures missing corners. By the fifth, they stopped asking questions with answers I could not give. By the sixth, I stopped waiting for the sound of a key. By the seventh, I had learned to smile again, without guilt. We grew together. Homework nights became adventures in problem solving. Rainy afternoons turned into kitchen concerts with pots and wooden spoons. I worked longer hours, but I never missed bedtime. Each night I told them a story about hope, even when my own felt tired. They believed me. That belief fed me more than rest ever could. On a clear afternoon in early spring, destiny decided to test the strength we had built. The children and I were walking through the town square, hands linked, carrying small bags of groceries. The air smelled of bread and new leaves. A street musician played a gentle tune that wrapped around us like a memory. We slowed down, smiling, feeling ordinary and safe. That was when she saw us. I noticed her before the children did. Time folded inward, like a book closing too fast. She stood near the fountain, older, thinner, eyes searching for something she had lost. When her gaze met mine, she froze. The world seemed to pause, holding its breath. 7 years of distance collapsed into a single moment of recognition. The children followed my stillness and turned. Their faces carried curiosity, then surprise, then something deeper that words had not yet shaped. She took a step forward, then stopped again, as if the ground itself had asked her to wait. Her hands trembled. I felt 1,000 feelings rise, but I chose calm, because calm had carried us this far. We stood there, the past and present sharing the same sunlight. The musician kept playing. People passed without noticing the quiet earthquake happening inside us. Finally, she spoke our names, softly, as if testing whether they were real. The children did not run. They did not hide. They listened. She knelt by the fountain, not asking for anything, only saying she was sorry. Sorry for the years. Sorry for the silence. Sorry for leaving questions unanswered. Her voice broke, and tears followed, honest and unguarded. I watched my children watch her, measuring truth with their hearts. I told her we were okay. Not perfect, but growing. I told her they were kind, curious, brave. I told her they had learned how to ride bikes, how to lose without giving up, how to forgive small mistakes. I did not accuse. I did not defend. I simply shared the life we had built. She listened as if each word was a gift. She said she had carried us everywhere, even when she ran from herself. She said the world had been loud and lonely. She said she finally understood what she had lost, not in anger, but in clarity. She did not ask to be forgiven. She asked to be allowed to care again. We did not decide everything that day. We did not rush healing. We agreed to walk slowly, to speak honestly, to let the children lead with their comfort. The fountain kept flowing, reminding us that time does not stop, but it can be kinder when we meet it with patience. That evening, at home, we talked. The children asked questions that were brave and careful. I answered what I could. I admitted what I could not. We made a simple plan to meet again, to see if trust could learn our names once more. Hope sat with us, quiet and real. Weeks turned into months. Conversations grew steadier. Laughter returned in small, surprising ways. She showed up when she said she would. She listened more than she spoke. The children shared their worlds, slowly opening doors. I watched, protecting without blocking, trusting without forgetting. 7 years had changed us all. Pain had shaped us, but it had not hardened us. Love had learned new forms. Destiny, patient and precise, had brought us together when we were ready to choose wisely. In the end, it was not about returning to what was lost. It was about building what could be. On another clear afternoon, we walked through the same square. The musician played again. The fountain caught the light. The children laughed between us. She looked at me, steady this time, and I saw gratitude instead of fear. I nodded, not as a promise, but as permission to keep trying. Hope is not loud. It does not demand. It waits, it works, it heals. Our story did not end that day. It continued, shaped by patience, guided by honesty, and held together by love that had learned to endure. The river kept flowing, carrying us forward, together. Life, after that meeting, became a series of small steps. There were school events where seats felt different with an extra presence nearby. There were dinners where silence learned to soften again. There were evenings when memories surfaced without warning, and we learned how to sit with them without letting them rule us. I kept my routines, because stability had been our anchor, and the children needed to know that nothing important would be taken away. She learned our rhythms. She learned the children's favorite meals, the jokes that made them laugh, the fears that visited at night. She respected boundaries. She waited. I saw effort where there had once been absence. Effort does not erase the past, but it builds bridges over it. I allowed myself to notice. The children surprised me most. Their hearts were careful, yet open. They asked her about her travels, about the jobs she tried, about the lessons she learned the hard way. They shared their drawings, their goals, their worries about growing up. She listened with humility, understanding that trust is a gift earned daily. There were hard conversations too. Questions about why she left, and why it took so long to return. She answered without hiding. She spoke of fear, of confusion, of running from responsibilities she did not know how to face. She did not blame anyone else. Accountability became the language we agreed to use. I carried my own truths. I spoke about nights of exhaustion, about learning strength through repetition, about choosing hope even when it felt heavy. I admitted that forgiveness is not a switch, but a road. She accepted that road, step by step, without asking for shortcuts. Seasons changed. Leaves fell and returned. Birthdays were celebrated with cautious joy. I noticed how the children began to relax, how their shoulders dropped when laughter came easily. I noticed how she smiled without trying, how she showed up early, how she stayed present. Trust, fragile at first, learned how to stand. One evening, after the children had gone to sleep, we sat at the kitchen table. The light was soft. The house felt familiar and new at the same time. We talked about the future, not as a promise, but as a possibility. We agreed that whatever came next would be chosen together, guided by what was best for the children. I realized then that love does not always look the way stories tell it. Sometimes it looks like effort. Sometimes it looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like staying, even when leaving feels easier. The kind of love that lasts is built quietly, with consistent care. The town square became a symbol for us. It reminded us that life keeps moving, that moments can change everything, and that courage often appears when you least expect it. We returned there often, not to relive the past, but to honor how far we had come. 7 years apart had taught us lessons we could not have learned together. Reunion tested those lessons. We were not the same people, and that was okay. Growth had reshaped us. Pain had refined us. Hope had waited. There were setbacks. Days when old fears resurfaced. Days when trust felt thin again. We faced them honestly. We apologized when needed. We listened when it mattered most. The children watched, learning what responsibility looks like in real life. As time went on, the story others saw was simple. A family trying again. What they did not see was the careful work behind that simplicity, the quiet decisions, the steady presence, the choice to believe that people can change when they take responsibility. One night, during a storm, the power went out. We lit candles and told stories. The children laughed, shadows dancing on the walls. I looked around and felt something I had not felt in years. Peace. Not because everything was perfect, but because it was honest. She caught my eye and nodded, understanding without words. Gratitude filled the space between us. We had both walked long roads. Meeting again had not erased those miles, but it had given them meaning. In the end, the moment she froze by the fountain was not about shock. It was about recognition. Of what was lost, of what was possible, of the responsibility that love carries. Destiny had not forced us together. It had simply opened a door. We chose to walk through it slowly, with care. The river of time continued its flow. We continued with it, carrying lessons, letting go of bitterness, and holding on to hope. Our children grew, supported by consistency and honesty. They learned that families can bend without breaking. They learned that mistakes do not have to define a life. They learned that love, when guided by patience, can find its way home. And so our story goes on, not as a dramatic ending, but as a living promise. A promise to keep showing up. A promise to keep listening. A promise to choose hope every ordinary day. Today, when I look back, I understand that life does not reward anger, but effort. It rewards those who stay when staying is hard, and those who return with humility. The children remind me daily why patience matters. Their laughter fills rooms that once felt empty. Their confidence tells me that love, when practiced with care, becomes a shelter. We still visit the square. The musician changes, the seasons shift, but the lesson remains. Moments pass, yet choices endure. I hold on to that truth when doubts appear. She walks beside us now, not ahead, not behind, learning as we learn. Together, we choose honesty over fear and kindness over pride. 7 years changed everything, but they did not end us. They prepared us. The future is not promised, yet hope stands steady. As long as we keep choosing each other, gently and bravely, the story continues, guided by patience, shaped by forgiveness, and carried forward by love that learned how to wait. We breathe, we try, we heal, we grow, trusting tomorrow while honoring yesterday, together, quietly, faithfully with courage always forward.